My name is Archie Hogan, and I'm the executive director of the Beacon House. My gift of desperation in my bottom, I had many. I needed a fix. I needed heroin. And I had my little girls in the back of the car, and it was 2 a.m. I was shooting up in front of my 5-year-old little girl, and she said, and I was crying as I was doing this because I didn't want to do it. And she said to me, "What are you doing, Daddy?" And I said, "I'm taking my medicine." And she intuitively knew, and she said, "That's not your medicine." And in my mind, I was like, man, I just want to quit, but I can't. And this kid's gonna grow up with either out a father or a deadbeat dad. And it was just heartbreaking.
It led me to homelessness for over 8.5 years. Misery, headache, heartache, I pushed away friends, family. I lost my children. The people that I considered friends were dying of fentanyl and heroin overdoses. And I was just getting to that part where I was just like, when is it my time?
I started planning out my suicide. I was very ill, my health was bad, I knew that. But to me, the easiest thing to do was to grab my bottle and never wake up again. And for me to incorporate that to make sure that would never happen was that I was just gonna lay on the railroad tracks and pass out at night. So I knew I would never wake up again. Scared to death, and not wanting to die. I was desperate.
I was prescribed these painkillers for roughly 8 months, and then from there it just progressed for about 2 years. I'd go to a treatment center, I'd get kicked out, and I'd go back. Every time I'd get kicked out, I did what I did best, and I called my mommy, and she let me back into her house. Until after about the 8th time of doing that, the words from her were, "Yeah, don't ever come back to this house again." Reality kind of set in for me for the first time.
Gift of desperation is essentially what people might commonly refer to as rock bottom. It's called a gift because it turns out to be the moment that finally pushed us toward receiving treatment and getting help.
When they had asked me if I was willing to go to any lengths to have victory over my alcoholism, at that moment my answer was yes. I didn't know what that meant, but I know I was willing to not be in the position that I was in at that moment.
When you're in that much pain, it's easy to surrender in that moment, and in that moment I was able to surrender, and I wanted the help, but the fear was that I'd said these things before, you know? But at that point, you know, I was pretty beaten, so I didn't really have a problem with any of the rules at that time.
The first thing that you do when you're accepted into the program is you are asked to call for a ride. You step up to the curb on 10th Street and you yell out, "New man needs a ride." It is a small behavior that trains you to begin asking for help.
It was silly, and yeah, I just went along with it. I was a grown man asking to cross the street with another grown man. It was embarrassing, yeah.
And during the first 90 days, you're given the opportunity for, you know, your head to clear up a little bit, also while being taught the basics of recovery. Basics like being accountable, taking responsibility for the guy next to you, and you're starting to develop a foundation in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is an approach that we take here at the Beacon House and we believe in. In the first 90 days, you'll get a sponsor. You'll start doing your step work with that sponsor, all while receiving counseling from staff, and starting to get some of that feedback from your peers and starting to engage in social model. And you start to learn from the guys that came before you what honesty looks like, what character building looks like, spirituality and different forms of that, coming to gain an understanding of a power greater than yourself. And these are all the basic things. And that's what we try to hammer home in the first 90 days while you're just kind of getting adjusted to life again without substances.
You know, I still, kept my head down. I still wasn't looking people in the eye. Started getting out of my comfort zone, started interacting with guys. Up until that point, I couldn't remember the last time I actually had a conversation with a person, sitting down face to face.
I didn't know how to communicate in a healthy manner. I had to be shown how to communicate in a healthy manner, and it was very uncomfortable.
It's a trip that you start slowly building this this confidence in yourself again for the first time. I've gotten 90 days before in my life, but this really felt like an achievement for me. It felt like I really have started to grow roots and really started to build a foundation.
Addiction takes place in isolation and recovery takes place in community. So immediately this individual is surrounded with love, connections, human beings to talk to, and most importantly, they're learning to interact with another human being. And so that's the beauty of the Beacon House. What I think separates us is our recovery community.
What happens in the pit to the outside eye could just look like people engaging in general conversation, but relationships are being developed. They're able to carry out everything that they learn in their group counseling sessions and their individual sessions. They're able to carry it out in the pit. They're able to practice what's being taught to them.
My best experiences in that pit have been like these conversations where someone gets vulnerable with me. You know, someone felt the need that he trusted me to talk about something that was going on with him.
When you're in the primary program, not only do you engage in, relapse prevention, going to AA meetings, working with a 12-step sponsor, but you also get to attend what we call core group. And core group is a trauma-focused group. And you start to see of how your behavior and what we call your underlying issues that cause you to want to use a substance in the first place, how that's played out throughout your whole entire life.
It's just a perfect environment to work on those things. So I got to do that for quite a while, and not only work on those things, but be pushed by the staff and by the program director to challenge everything.
During that first year, it's a tough program. I was told that it's a drastic program for drastic results. We call ourselves a social model program. That means, you're reaching forward, asking for help, and you're giving back. Now they're starting after 90 days to get involved in our social enterprises, which includes a workforce development element. Where they're going to our thrift stores, they're working. A lot of guys come in here and they don't know how to be accountable, so they're learning some soft skills. They're learning how to interact. Not only are we teaching them soft skills, but we're teaching them hard skills. And then you couple that with, counseling and therapeutic services, and we also have a running program here. So we kind of try to do that aligns with our mission statement that the treatment or recovery we're giving our individuals is going to allow them to reach their full potential.
So we have workforce development here at the program. It helped me understand how to apply myself through pressure and how to process through interactions with other individuals. Helped me understand how to be of service, not only to the community, but also to myself.
The first place that you can be of service is in the Bartlett Center, which is the culinary program at this house. It provides food for multiple homeless shelters, and it provides food for the house. There's multiple events that take place that we do for the house, for other outside events, other recovery centers. And me personally, being a man who's been in the culinary field, being in the Bartlett Center was probably the most important place I could have been. But I do believe that the most powerful thing for me was to tackle that beast that I was in there. And I didn't really realize that's how God works. Like, God works in a way where somehow I still ended up I ended up in a program where I could cook and get help for who I was.
I get an opportunity to work at the store and give back to the house and bring money in to put a pillow under the next man that needs a room and needs a program, needs recovery, and needs an opportunity to save his life. And that I'm really thankful for. We can do recovery all 24/7 at the house, but to be able to separate from that and to apply what we're learning in recovery to the real world is just an opportunity that's I can't say enough words about it.
A couple of concepts that are really important to Beacon House: work hard, play hard, and mandatory fun. Our first executive director, our first staff member was Mary Proper, and she was the one that really designed the program that became Beacon House.
We want to make sure that that's balanced with really fun activities. We have our games on the weekend. We send them on various camping trips, various beach trips. We have a bunch of really fun activities that we do during the holidays, days in the park, playing games and sports. And that's all to not only create the much needed balance to the work that they're doing, but it's also really important for them to experience fun and enjoyment sober.
To be able to reunify with our family and friends again through the amends process is something that's key. And for me to be able to make an amends and apologize for those things, knowing that I might not ever be forgiven. And knowing that right there is something I learned how to accept.
It was really challenging in a sense because it pushed me in ways that I never thought I could. It pushed me in a way to be more out of myself than I ever been in my whole life up until that point. You know, there are assignments that we work on as far as like, okay, what is the rest of our life going to look like? How are we going to grow spiritually? You know, a lot of service. You know, through all that, like, just the bond I have with my transition brothers. You know, these are men that I see myself being friends with for the rest of my life.
Graduation is my favorite time because of that reunification. And so you see a guy up there have light in his face and can be a father again, that's a miracle.
And not only is graduation for the family, but it's for our new men, and they're able to gain some sort of hope.
You know, walking through the stage, my parents seeing them getting that award, it was so overwhelming, man. I felt that I accomplished something in my life. But I didn't do this alone, of course. It's God in the house. Because of me being in the program, my dad stopped drinking, my mom stopped drinking. They go to church today.
My first graduation, I watched the guys that were graduating the primary phase of the program interact with their family. I watched them hug. I watched them cry. I watched them laugh. It was the first time I cried at Beacon House. And I knew in that moment that that was something I wanted.
Phase 2 can be thought of as more like a sober living environment where it's much less structured. They still attend some treatment services and they do live on the Beacon House campus, but they're able to interact with their family, they're able to go to school, they're able to get a job, they're able to buy a car, and just become a lot more autonomous.
As we enter into second phase, a lot of new things are handed to us, a lot more freedoms, and we learn how to work through them before we even get to them. The reintegration process with my family, I have 2 daughters, and I've never been a father to them, and I was able to make amends to my baby mom and start developing a relationship with my daughter.
And I started gaining some hope back and some goals that I wanted to achieve, and some of these are filmmaking. And here at the house, I get the opportunity to do that. The house allows me to stay here, rent-free, pursue a career, save up money, and my only job is to help the new guys that come in today.
What makes the Beacon House unique? It's our social model program, which, to sum it up, it's community-based recovery. And that is what allows us to have the qualitative successes that you see, where our guys are going to USC, where our guys are, like myself, we're running a company now. You know, sobriety isn't enough. And so how is that possible? And it's through our social model program.
The mission of the Beacon House Association of San Pedro is to help men achieve recovery from alcoholism and addiction to other drugs. We provide long-term treatment and foster a recovery community grounded in character building and spiritual values. We strive to help men realize their full potential and live productive, purpose-driven lives.
You know, I had a mentor tell me once, how long does it take to heal a broken bone? And I said 3 months. He goes, what about a broken soul? You know, you can't get to the root cause in just 30, 60, 90 days. And I think this program's awesome and could be a model for other programs throughout the country, or other, you know, women's facilities, you know, youth facilities, or the homelessness, because it's that long-term element where community's helping community. And that's what makes the Beacon House special.
What the Beacon House has done through my life has touched many others, especially in my family, in my community. I know that my mother is eternally grateful.
They gave me a chance to go back to school. I want to be a drug and alcohol counselor because I like people now. I like myself now. If it wasn't for you guys, it wouldn't be here for me today. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And without your support, change doesn't happen.
Today I get to be part of my daughter's life, and it shows me that there's hope. There's hope in the family dynamic, and there's hope for fathers being able to love their daughters. I just want to thank you guys, because I know without your guys' donations, this house would not be what it is.
I want to just thank all the people who are in support of the Beacon House. There's people who are in pain out there who need a chance, a second chance.
You know, we need support. We need your help. And why we need that is that we want to help more men, and we want to have the highest quality of care so that we can continue to save lives, reunite family, and give men purpose so that our guys can go be a positive ripple in their communities today.